like a little introduction.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. I'm Veda Gray of Black Girl Math, and I am so excited for my new episode. She's already ready. Dr. Nicole Joseph from Vanderbilt, and we're going to talk to her about her math story. And so, hi, Dr. Joseph. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, how are you? I'm excited to be here to have this conversation with you.
I know this has been like a year in the making. Like I love when I can connect because I attended one of your sessions on for the Benjamin Banneker Association. You did a session on some of your work, and I was like, I'm sold. Like whatever whatever you're writing, I was like, I need to learn more.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that was about last year, maybe a year and a half ago. So I always start off with my guests. I always want to know, like, what's your math story? How did you get to be where you are? The Dr. Nicole Joseph.
Well, third grade, I was in Miss Elarante's class. We were doing math. I was raising my hand to answer some questions. And I didn't know that my mom was standing outside the door watching. So I went to an elementary school that had the wood doors with the open glass. And my teacher never called on me. So after the class, and this is also how I opened up my book, by the way, my mom came in and said, why did you not call on my daughter? Called the lady a racist. I don't know if the lady was a racist or not, but that was what a concerned mom said. After that, my mom said, she told the principal, she's getting out of this class. Of course, it was like in the middle of the school year. There were no other classes available but the advanced classes. I think it was called Horizon in elementary school at that time in Seattle. Needless to say, I was put in the advanced class and was exposed to mathematics, and I just flourished. I really just flourished. And I didn't flourish because that instructor was doing like robust conceptual mathematics. I flourished because there was an opportunity for me to just go and for me to see myself as a strong math learner, because I knew how to do school. And I want to emphasize to the audience that it was same straight up old school procedures, but I did well in that type of environment. And so that day, that experience changed my life. And I understood later the power of advocacy for advocating for Black girls. So once I left that elementary school, I went to middle and high school and basically stayed on the advanced track. I did algebra by 8th grade. I really loved math. I think I loved math because of the power that you kind of feel when you solve a problem. And by the time I got to high school, you taking calculus and trig and algebra 2, I learned really quickly that I was going to find friends, people who could help me understand some of these ideas. I didn't know nothing about these deep language, about community of practice. Nobody knew about that. I'm like 16 years old. What I understood was that there were some things that I didn't understand that my teacher, in my opinion, did not help me understand. So I began to collaborate and, basically find people who could help me understand these ideas. And so went to undergraduate, majored in economics and mathematics. And I, again, just loved the application of what mathematics was able to do. So even understanding economics, microeconomics specifically, like how people make decisions and around their preferences and things like that. So I was loving the calculus that we had to do in terms of understanding some of these ideas. And then later, after having my daughter, I decided that I wanted to become a math teacher. And essentially, I wanted to help everyone who looked like me fall in love with mathematics. Not, again, because you get to sit in some library and work on, crazy problems for hours, but because of the role that mathematics can play in helping us to understand our own lives, things that are important to us, And I've thought about mathematics as quite expansive. So not just calculations, but a type of thinking, logic, geometry, geospatial situations. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I also really loved it. And I didn't get that from a teacher telling me that. I got that when I became a teacher and was trying to expand mathematics for my students from only thinking about arithmetic to this really broad, discipline, and the power that it has to help you understand your own lives. So that's
And I
my
love
math
that.
story.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. And that, I like you said, that idea of like, how does it play a role in your lives? Not just, like you said, not just on this piece of paper that I have to do. And one of the things I heard from your story is that high expectation that you were moved into the advanced mathematics class, and just like how much just high expectations plays a huge role in what students are able to do, because they will meet, because I had a similar experience in sixth grade. Also, like you said, the advocacy for a teacher, one of my teachers, and I had him for third grade math, and then starting like fifth and sixth grade math. And by sixth grade, he's like, all right, you need something else. And so he built in that, say, for example, that collaboration, because he's like, all right, you're going to take algebra by eighth grade. So similar story to yours of just like, hey, you need something else. This isn't this isn't for you. And so the fact that it came from your mom and that she stood up for you as well.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't mention was in sixth grade, they wanted me to take a test to get into. So at that point, I think it was called advanced placement. So these names of these different.
Right.
And Mrs. Bennett, another Black woman, God
Mhm.
rest her soul, she has passed on. This also speaks again to advocacy. But I had to take the test.
Mhm.
I didn't pass the test. Miss Bennett said, I don't care that you didn't pass the test. You will be in, the math classes that are going to ensure that you get into algebra by eighth grade. So I want to just emphasize again to the people in the back that advocacy for Black girls and their mathematics learning and experiences and course enrollment, those things are important because we have systems and structures in place, such as tracking, such as low expectations of our girls, such as the stereotypes, that get in the way and they think that we're not smart enough, to do it. Those things are real. So we need cultural brokers. I think that's Geneva Smitherman's language, like cultural brokers to brokerage for us, meaning our Black girls, to get into mathematics, like get into these courses. And so I just wanted to emphasize that we got to have these advocates that are going to push back against these structures and these systems that are in place that are really designed to push us out.
Mm-hmm. And to really create a space for us, because we belong there. We can do the work, we can belong there, and also take care of our other needs along the way, because just that, like you said, whether it's low expectations from others or even just, they see us and just like, no, like, because there's not many of us in mathematics. And so like, yeah, like why aren't we?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that we have been there all along. I'm thinking historically now, because I also identify as a historian. We've been there all along. But again, because of racism, sexism, all of these systems of oppression, we were hidden in plain sight. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I've done research at 25 historically Black colleges and universities. And I will tell you that places like Bennett College, I mean, there were places that I went to that were, supporting Black women and Black girls, these HBCUs, as well as the guys too, around math. And a lot of it was practical mathematics. Like, for example, there wasn't like a ton of like linear algebra or calculus or things like that. However, what I noticed was that even in something like geometry or what's the other class I'm thinking about? Jesus. Anyway, I can't remember. But what they would do is they would pull out, what are the ideas? What are the mathematical ideas that are going to help with this particular trade or vocation, for example,
Okay.
right? So surveying, for example, was something that a lot of the students did in mathematics at Tuskegee, for example, because agricultural was a large trade, understanding how to grow things. And I wrote in an article that I published in the Journal of Negro Education, Booker T. Washington's quote. He said, we started with agriculture because we wanted to eat, so you had Black people coming out of slavery, when a lot of these historically Black colleges were just like developing. And so it was about developing skills and knowledge. And so, it was important. And what I noticed with what I was able to find is that the role of mathematics was to help them understand how to develop like a trade or a vocation. And back then you're talking about hat making, being a tailor, construction, agricultural, farmer, that kind of thing. So we always been there. We just been hidden because they didn't want to give us no space.
Absolutely. And it's been hidden from us too, because like you said, even in K-8, I didn't see, even historically, well, in some ways didn't see that, say, for example, brought in the classroom. What we, I remember a book series that actually Jewel used to have. It used to have like these thin books of like short biographies of like Black inventors and, mathematicians and, other fields. And then my mother would buy those. And so I just remember reading about, Morgan and Garrett and others, like Ida B. Wells was in it, because I think it was like a book on educators. And so like literally in Jewel was like, all right, let's get some,
that's amazing,
like learn more about our history. And then that propelled us. But yeah, like you said, or Benjamin Banneker was also, I remember him being in one of the biographies and thinking about how do we, again, how do we see ourselves? And we're like, oh, wow, and learning that at an early age. And so, like you said, that advocacy is so important. And also seeing ourselves so that we can, one of my favorite quotes from Shonda Rhimes is, you can't be what you can't see. And so thinking about, that has been hidden from us. But like you said, it's not like we haven't been there. We've studied it, wrote the book. And just and now how do we make those connections now? So tell me more about, and I know you're big into being an advocate for Black girls, and so tell me about that work. And you also gave us a sneak peek for your book, because I want to hear about your book. And let me bring it up again, Making Black Girls Count in Math Education, which is coming out soon. So tell me about that work.
I have a daughter. I have a lot of nieces. And I just love Black women and girls. I always act like everybody else's kids that are Black girls, that they belong to me, in the sense of I have a responsibility. So I was blessed to be able to go to, Vanderbilt University, which, for better or for worse, is an institution that has incredible resources. So this platform that I feel that God has given me, there's a mantle on my life to elevate Black girls' experiences in mathematics, to not just talk about what the problems and the issues are, but also what are the beautiful and amazing assets that Black girls bring to the learning space, right? That's what my research is trying to figure out. What are those assets that Black girls bring to specifically learning mathematics, right? And so one of those assets that I have kind of figured out is this idea of collaboration. So Black girls love to be able to learn. I'm not going to say every Black girl, but many Black girls love to be able to learn in community. And while being in community, they want a more social feel, like more like relaxed, you know, to be able to laugh or to, you know, tell a joke and to not be so serious, right? So what's wrong with trying to find the line of best fit for your equation, as well as like talking about, I don't know, what you did last night or what your aunt did that was funny. You know what I mean? What I'm discovering is that Black girls don't see those things as mutually exclusive, that you can learn hard mathematics while also having fun. And I know that that's like me all day long. You know, it's like, I want to be able to enjoy myself and not be so serious. But you see, those types of descriptions and constructions of mathematics are rooted in white supremacy culture. So when you think about competitiveness, individualism, the value of the written word, what's a proof? Like in geometry, we had to write proofs, right? To what? Prove that this particular theorem or whatever is actually correct. So a lot of those types of characteristics and like understandings of what it means to know mathematics are like in direct opposition to how Black women and girls, many Black women and girls, like to engage, you know, in mathematics. And so I'm just here for it. People are giving me money left and right to do the research. And that's because I think people find it extremely interesting, especially given the time that we are in, you know, just around anti-Blackness and, you know, Black folk, the racial reckoning, if you will, of this country, the ways in which Black women historically and now have been like killed, you know, state violence, little girls leading the discipline, being disciplined the most out of all these other types of kids in these states, how they're being criminalized, how they are adultified. So Black girls are like really in a national sort of, there's a national sort of confluence of like media and research and funding. Like people are doing this. I was studying Black girls long before all of this was popular, but this sort of environment has produced opportunities for me to really elevate research and opportunities to learn from Black girls, because that's what I do. I do interviews, I do focus groups. Like I want to learn from them what we can do as teachers, as educators, as caregivers and parents, what we can do to better support our girls, because ain't nobody else gonna do it, you know? So
and they haven't, right?
Yeah,
like they
right.
all
And there's like, and the other thing is like, so we have you and, you know, there are other community organizations or, you know, social media, blog, that type of thing, but we don't know each other. So that's like, this is what's a blessing, is that we need to like connect, right? Because the bigger that we can get, I think the more positive impact, you know, that we can have. So that's why I advocate. I'm going to advocate until God takes me off the earth. And I'm in a stage in my career where I'm going to engage in truth telling. We not finna lie. We finna call a thing, but I'm also not interested in just leaving people with the bad stuff. I am also someone who is interested in thinking together about how can we actually change these things, right?
Absolutely.
If folks want to do it.
Right. Now that we're like you said, like Black girls are 10 to 11 more times to be pushed out of the classroom. Like you said, behaviors that other groups may do, they'll be criminalized for,
that's right,
punished for, suspended, and then now time is taken out of instruction. And so, like, as you were saying, and so now that
Yeah,
we're aware of these things and the adultification and the experiences that they have when they don't have good school experiences,
that's
now what
right.
do we do about that? And I saw that you have a group of Black girls who are on campus in Vanderbilt in the summer. Can you tell us about
Hmm.
that, your program?
Black Girls Becoming Summer Research Institute. We had the first one this summer. I'm hustling and grinding to find more funding so we can have it summer 23. We brought 19 Black girls from the local area of Nashville. I was not connected to a particular school because I didn't want teachers giving me like the best girls. I threw that stuff on social media and we had 55 applications for 20 spots basically. And so we made sure that we had a variety. Only one little Black girl came from a private school. Everybody else was like at these regular public schools in Nashville, right? So we had a variety of girls, and my heart's desire was to get Black girls who who I saw like potential and like a sparkle in their eye. They may not have been like super refined, but I didn't care if they had a desire and if their family couldn't like perhaps afford something like this. Now it was free, but these are the types of programs that usually cost thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So we were able to allow the girls to come free of charge. And that's important to me too. You know, they deserve us to work on their behalf so that they can get these types of experiences. So we're getting ready to have a reunion party with those same girls on this Saturday. And they are going to come and do a class called Curly Chemistry. They're going to be bringing clips of their own hair, looking at the pH of their hair follicles. And then they're going to take another class that day called Critical Consciousness. We also did that class, but they're going to connect the two about what are the politics around Black girls' hair, right? So, girl, it's going to be dope. And I'm excited to have them back and to just see how they have grown and you know what I mean, what they're doing. And so, yeah, that's the program. And I hope to be able to offer it every year. So I'm talking to philanthropy, like I'm serious. I'm trying to get this money so that a new set of girls can come every single year to live on Vanderbilt's campus, eat in their dining halls, take courses from Black women physicists, scientists. It's amazing, right? To be in front. Everybody in the program was a Black woman, including the photographer. So when you talked about representation, Veda, you said, I'm telling you that representation matters. And the chaperones that were chaperoning them, they were undergraduate Black women at Vanderbilt. So they were a lot closer to their ages, you know, and they made beautiful connections with the chaperones. It was just a beautiful experience that I hope that I can do every single year.
Absolutely. And Black Girl Math fans, you heard her. We need the money. So if you have connections, we'll connect and make sure that we can connect to Dr. Joseph about like let's bring these girls back here because I'm trying to be there so I can hang out and support. So it might not be this summer, but definitely next summer. I still have some classes to finish.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So December 10th is a big day coming up for you. What's happening December 10th?
So my solo book project is coming out, and y'all, you know, writing a whole book is a lot of work. But what I tried to do in this book is to essentially develop chapters around big ideas. So, for example, there is a chapter on assessment. So, what does assessment, and I mean like the formative type of assessments, like assessments from like when you in math class, you do a unit and then you take the assessment, that type of assessment, as well as what we call summative assessment, which is like the state of Illinois big tests that the kids. So I talked about assessment, like, so how does the socialization of assessment actually harm Black girls. So I talk about assessment, for example. There's another chapter on learning environments. So we kind of talk a little bit about how learning environments in mathematics are often sterile. You in rows, you can't talk, you got to be serious, right? How those types of things, experiences, hurt Black girls' participation in math. It hurts the development of their mathematics identities, just, a lot of things. I also have a chapter on curriculum, and talking about how we have math curriculum that is nowhere near culturally relevant or culturally responsive, for our girls, and really just students of color, period. But this is a Black girl project. Like, I take up a lot of space about Black girls. I ain't talking about no other group of kids. Not that I don't care about them, because I care about Black boys. I care about other students of color, but my research agenda is about Black girls. So those chapters are big. There's a chapter on policy. My favorite chapter is called A Talk to Math Teachers Who Are Ready to Go for Broke. That title was inspired by James Baldwin, who wrote a speech called A Talk to Teachers. He gave this speech in 1963 to a set of teachers, basically talking about the perils of racism in the United States, 1963, what was happening, right? Around racism and how the school system wasn't, set up to support Black people's potential. And of course, he wasn't talking about mathematics, but in this chapter, I'm speaking to math teachers who have said, I believe in this thing. I may not know what to do, but I'm here to learn. I'm not bringing no excuses. I'm not going to be talking about, oh, we don't have no time. There's no professional development. Like, I'm talking to those teachers. That's why I said going for broke. So in that chapter, I actually develop like a plan of action, actual things that teachers who are ready to go for broke can do to actually support Black girls in their classes. And I do focus pretty much on K-12. So there's nothing about higher ed really in the book. So the book elevates challenges, but the book also provides potential solutions. And it's not a panacea in the sense that, it's not going to solve all the problems. I do present, though, a vision of what transformative teaching for our girls can look like. And a lot of that central stuff is around like their agency. Our girls need to see themselves as competent math learners. And there's a variety of ways to do that and to help them see that, because once they understand that, oh, they gonna kill it. Okay. But we in schools, formal schooling, it's just so many rules. We got to do this. We got to get the tests, that there's no room for creativity. There's no room for innovation. There's no room for the practical knowledge that Black girls bring, that they do in their homes with their little girlfriends, with their families. There's mathematics happening in those spaces, but we don't create space in our formal math classrooms for any of that. And so
or to make those connections, right? Like,
that's right.
You even see, like, it's not even like you said, those cultural brokers, to even see and make that connection, like, oh, I noticed that you were doing this, or I saw this going on, and again, bringing that into the classroom to create that space for students. And something that you also said was that, like that idea of collaboration and socialization that has to go on to make the mathematics accessible and to create that learning environment for your girls.
Absolutely. And so what you are doing, at Black Girl Math, and some other organizations, it's like, we need these informal spaces.
Absolutely.
Because it just, it ain't happening. It just ain't happening in these formal schools. So we want our girls to shine, to have better opportunities. This is another thing I talking about in the book. It's like I want Black women to lead the charge for the liberation of Black girls' mathematics learning.
I mean, we're doing it already in the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's the book. Little sneak peek.
Awesome. All right. So stocking stuffers, you can also can you still pre-order making,
Yeah.
and the full title is Making Black Girls Count in Math Education, a Black Feminist Vision for Transformative Teaching, December 10th. And you brought up a couple ideas as you were talking about the book. One of the ideas is, like you said, the idea of, and in some previous episodes, it has come up when I talk with Black girl advocates and Black women advocates, is that idea of like, do you get the same question of like, well, why is it only Black girls? Why are you just focused on them? Do you get that question also in your work?
I actually don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay. You're like, how do you shut it down then? How do you?
Well, I think because I often open up with
Okay.
why Black girls are the most vulnerable population right now in our schools and in our communities. And in 1963, whatever, Malcolm X said that we are the most disrespected, unprotected group of people in the United States. And then you have a study that came out in 2015 about Black girls where the same thing was found, that people walking down the street, everyday regular citizens, who were mainly white in this particular study, said that Black girls need less protection, less comfort, that they are more adult. So, this is translating in schools. This is why you can see a 5-year-old being arrested with handcuffs. That foolishness is happening because people are internalizing the adultification of our girls, which means, like you said earlier, Veda, other children, if they running around, rolling around on the floor, throwing an eraser, oh, it's developmental. But if it's our girls, you ought to know better. That's disrespectful. Get out of my classroom.
And if they throw a tantrum because they're upset, they're thrown in cuffs in the back of a squad car.
That's right.
Like you said, 5, 6 years old.
That phenomenon, everybody in the back, is called adultification. People adultify Black girls. And if we really want to get real about it, our communities have also sort of perpetuated some of that. And the complexities is that some of it is just tied to survival. When you think about slavery, you had to make sure your 5-year-old daughter or 10-year-old daughter understood that if somebody tries to touch you, you know what I mean? Like, she couldn't even be a baby. She couldn't even be free to just play in the weeds or whatever, like we see little white girls being able to do, right? And that still happens today. I was latchkey. I had to be home by myself while my mom was earning her nursing degree. So the complexity is that, yes, our communities have sort of perpetuated some of that adultification, but a lot of that is because it has been tied to like survival, right?
Absolutely. I remember being young, or it was because my mom didn't drive, we'd get on the bus and every single time we'd get asked, what is our age? Because they thought we were lying about our age, and we were taller. One of my brothers is 6'8", but every time, because they didn't think we were paying the right fare.
Yeah, ain't that something?
Every time, like, didn't even want to ride a bus because it's just like,
yeah, because of the views that
is brought on. And I was in the group because I have two younger brothers and myself, and then the older brother. But yeah, we were all three of us just like, how old are you? Like, like, really, you think that? And I'm trying to pay. And so, just that idea. And again, and how it's replicated and how we're seeing it in schools, and just the awful videos that we're seeing of just a child with a cell phone hoodie.
I go between crying and I'm literally ready to fight somebody. I'm not even joking, because I'm just like, this is not right. And our girls deserve so much better,
So much
right?
more.
And
So much more.
so trying to connect and create an agenda around these things is what we're going to have to do. I mean, we're doing it already, but we need to continue to do it because there's
Absolutely.
still a lot of Black girls sitting in these schools, in these math classrooms that are experiencing literally psychological violence,
Yeah. One of
that
my
they're
friends had to,
somehow, aren't able to do what they need to do. And a lot of kids, Black kids, are ABT. They just ain't been taught, you know. And when you're not taught math ideas, then of course you're going to struggle
right.
as you continue to go and learn more things. At least the way that schools set it up. Right.
Absolutely.
It's very linear in schools. This is why teachers say, well, she doesn't know her multiplication facts.
And that's where the math is supposed to stop for them.
Right. So she can't go on. What are you talking about? Oh, she can understand slides, flips, and turns, translations, MC Escher's beautiful picture. Like, don't tell me that. So, again, this is why we have to all work together to try to push back and disrupt these experiences that a lot of our girls are having in our schools.
Absolutely. And as you were saying, like what popped in my head was Dr. Gloria Latson Billings. She spoke at NCTM a few years ago about that idea of like our children don't even have access, they're taught tricks. They don't even have access to high level mathematics, even at their grade level, like you said, because if I'm behind or if I don't know my math multiplication facts, I don't even the teacher won't even let me access my 4th grade material until I learn these facts.
You said it.
And so thinking about that, and I know you just recently got on the big stage at NCTM. What was one or two things that resonated or that you shared with the folks at NCTM about Black girls?
That adultification, and gave examples of what that can look like in a math classroom, and gave strategies for math teachers to basically disrupt that shit. Just stop it, and I mean, it was one thing that was quite simple was quit giving Black girls worksheets as the main learning experience. There's nothing wrong with worksheets all within themselves, right? I think they do have a place, but I've been learning in some of my research, these girls are like, well, all we get is like worksheets. So we're just, redoing the problems that, they did, that the teacher did. And we want to do some projects, or we want to be able to talk to our peers or whatever. So, I was really elevating that because I'm like, that's something you can start to do on Monday.
Right.
You don't need no PD. You don't need no professional development for that.
And talk.
And
talk
then
about,
start engaging Black girls by getting to know them, start engaging them by building, relationships with them, because that's another thing. Black girls that I've talked to in my research say that when they have a connection with their math teacher, they try harder, they ask questions, they raise their hand, they want to do more. And that relationship has nothing to do with math. It is like, they would say, wow, I can just go to my math teacher and talk to her about anything, anything that's going on in my life. That right there is a key thing for a lot of the girls that were in my studies. And they connected that to, this is why I try harder in math, because Miss Gray, she's so cool. She just, you know what I mean? Like, those are the words they used. It's like you got to pass the vibe test with Black girls, right? In order to really sort of hook them into mathematics learning. And then, like I said, once you got that hook, they're going to kill it.
I love it.
Period, point blank.
Absolutely. Pass the vibe test. That's it. Vibe test, check. Absolutely. You got to get beyond what we put up, because we're in these spaces where, like you said, we're adultified. We're called all kinds of names. And so if you're not coming to us correct, good luck with that math. Good luck with teaching us math. And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I have loved talking with you and you sharing with us what you're doing for Black girls. I love that we've connected. We will stay connected from
Yes,
here
we
on out.
will.
So thank you so much for joining me on Black Girl Math. I really appreciated you. And again, don't forget December 10th, everybody.
Yay, get the book.
Get the book, and talk with Dr. Nicole Joseph. Thanks so much.
Thank you.